So now we'll study the auditory pathway, that is the afferent fibers supplying the hair cells. This constitute the cochlear division of the eighth cranial nerve. The cell bodies of these fibers are present in the spiral ganglion. So you can see in the diagram the spiral ganglion. Okay, so this is the spiral ganglion. So when you are studying about the auditory pathway, just remember the relay station. The first one is the spiral ganglion. Next, remember the superior olivary nucleus, and then nucleus of lateral lemniscus, and then you should remember the inferior colliculus and medial geniculate body, and then the auditory cortex. So these are the relay station. So the spiral ganglion, you can see here the hair cells. So apparent fibers ends in the spiral ganglion. So the spiral ganglion is having the bipolar cells. So the first order neurons are the bipolar cells of the spiral ganglion. So the dendrites of these bipolar cells constitute the afferent fibers of the hair cells, and then the axons of these bipolar cells forms the cochlear division of the eighth cranial nerve, and this ends in the cochlear nuclei in the medulla. You can see here in the diagram the cochlear nuclei in the medulla. So from here the second order neurons starts. So here you can see the second order neurons, almost most of the fibers crosses to the opposite side. Some they remain on the same side, but most of the fibers crosses to the opposite side and ends in the superior olivary nucleus. So the third order neurons, they have the cell bodies in the superior olivary complex, and then also in the lateral lemniscus. So the nucleus of refers to the collection of the cells that lies within the lemniscus itself. So this the fibers, okay, the third order neurons have their cell bodies mainly in the superior olivary nucleus and in the nucleus of lateral lemniscus. So you can see in the diagram. So the secondary superior olivary nucleus receives the large majority of lateral lemniscus fibers from the cochlear nuclei. Axons arising from the superior olivary complex form an important ascending bundle called the lateral lemniscus. And you should also know about the trapezoid body. See here, I will go to the next that you can see here the trapezoid body. So this is the trapezoid body, that is the crossing fiber of two sides form a conspicuous mass of fibers called the trapezoid body. Then so now the fibers crossed to the third order neuron starts from the superior olivary nucleus, and then from the trapezoid nucleus, and then from the nucleus of lateral lemniscus. So these fibers they terminate in the inferior colliculus. So the fourth order neurons starts from the inferior colliculus, and then they terminate in the medial geniculate body of the thalamus. Then from here the medial geniculate body of the thalamus, the fifth order neuron starts and ends in the auditory cortex. So the auditory cortex area is, the primary areas are areas 41 and 42, and then auditory association areas are areas 22, 21 and 20. So you should know these 5 relay stations. So one is the spiral ganglion, and then superior olivary nucleus and lateral lemniscus, that is the second relay station. And then you should know the inferior colliculus, and then medial geniculate body and the auditory cortex. So the first order neuron starts from the spiral ganglion, ends in the cochlear nuclei, then cochlear nuclei, the second order neurons starts and ends in the superior olivary nucleus and then the lateral lemniscus. Then the third order neuron starts from here and ends in the inferior colliculus. Then from the inferior colliculus, fourth order neuron starts and ends in the medial geniculate body of the thalamus, and from here the fifth order neuron starts and terminates on the auditory cortex. Primary areas 41 and 42, and the secondary areas 22, 21 and 20. So this is about the auditory pathway. So any doubts, you can please ask me. Thank you.